Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Selfish Therapy. If you're new here, I'm your host, Lorraine, and on this channel, we talk about any and everything self therapy. So if you're not ready to do the work, this may not be the channel for you. So without further ado, guys, you've seen what the title of the video is. Let's just jump right in. Yes, so guys, if you're still here, thank you guys so much for the support. If you find that you like the content that I post, do not forget to leave me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. I appreciate when you guys interact with me. All right, so let's get into it. So today we're going to, in lieu of keeping this week really light, we're going to be touching bases on a few questions that we should or should not be asking on a first date, especially for a Christian woman or a person that is looking for intentional dating. So we're going to touch some of those. And guys, this will be the last episode for this specific series because I think there's some more pressing matters and topics that I would like to dive into going forward. So I don't think there's much for me to dig deeper on this issue. On this topic. So I think I'm going to close out with this one. And I just wanted to leave it a little bit light. The reason why I chose to talk about this is for somebody that's not been in the dating pool for some time, it could get a little bit challenging on what conversations to have. I believe that once you are, or from my experience, let's say, when you've been out of the dating game for some time, to get your feet back into it is like it's kind of like learning how to walk again, I guess, right? So, when you're at a place in your life when you're so intentional about the relationships and the interactions that you have, sometimes your questions or conversations can come off kind of deep off the rip, which some people are not don't have any problems with that. But then there are others who find that they're not as deep up front. They like to keep it a little bit light. And I don't think either way, whatever person you are, nothing is wrong with that as long as we get to the deeper topics or the more important topics at some point in the early stages, right? So that's why I chose to talk about it. But let's jump on some of those. Again, I am a woman, I'm a single woman and a woman of faith. So a lot of what I talk about and my experience is from that standpoint. If you have a different view, I'm open to hearing what you have. So feel free to share it. But just be open-minded. I'm speaking from also some of my experience. All right. So one of the things that, I would definitely bring up on a first date is that's because it's so important to me, is talk about the lighter things of faith and values, right? I always talk about this being unequally yoked. Being unequally yoked is not a thing for me. It doesn't make sense. You and a person are going in separate directions. So I say this, I think it's a great thing to find out up front. Do they believe in God? You may get a person that tell you, no, I don't. And before wasting your time and going to all of this, I think it would still be a great opportunity because there are people who are still curious. They may have reasons why they don't believe, or, they don't share the same faith as you. Because maybe it's about educating the person or, sharing some of your experiences that they may be open-minded. And then there are people who they don't believe that and that's just it for whatever reason. So you'll know by asking those questions up front. So some of the questions could be, so some questions you could ask is, what's your relationship with God? Some people may say they don't go to church, but they do have a relationship with God. And I think it's a space for a conversation to be had, if that makes sense, right? Find out why. Like, what's your take on it? What's the reason behind that? Right? You may believe may find that a person may say they have a relationship with God, or they may say, oh, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. And what does that mean? You know what I mean? Getting clarity around what does that mean, because the spiritual realm has all different types of forces. The Bible tells you about we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers of darkness, etc. You guys know it. So that tells me that there are a lot of different aspects that happens in the spiritual realm. And there are so many different things that people consider them, why people would consider themselves to be spiritual. And I think it has to be clarified. Again, we can't be serving two different gods. Make sense? I think also another question you could ask under the faith aspect of things is, if they do go to church, do they take part in church? What's your idea about, what about if I'm a woman of God and okay, I'm not forcing you to serve. What are your thoughts around me serving in church? These are conversations, because believe it or not, those are topics that create disconnect and division between married couples. Oh, the wife, she goes to church too much, she's at church every single day, or the husband is not participating as much as they think he should. That means you're not a man of God. So there's so many things up in the air. But having these conversations, and I think some of these questions are a little bit more on the lighter end, that as time go by, I think it shouldn't be a deal breaker, but I do believe it's good to know up front. Okay, so that's one question. That's one set of questions. Another would be talk about communication style. How do people, their intentions surrounding communication? I think that needs to be had up front. You can tell as pertaining to how people, their communication style, how do they handle conflict, all that stuff. I think is great to ask questions, probably to lighten the mood a little bit, throw some scenarios out there, and see where the headspace of the person is, right? I think that's great. I think it's great to have, because perfect example, if you guys have children or plan to have children, let's say that, a lot of the time there's a communication barrier, because you may come from a culture that, spanking is the way to go, and then you might get involved with somebody who don't believe, they say that's abuse. They may say that they don't agree with that. And that is a huge elephant a lot of the time between couples, because they did not even discuss the way how they would raise their children. So I think having conversations around, like how are you with your family? Like, how do you communicate? Like, what I've found is that there's usually some red flags around, let's say an example, a guy that, no, I don't talk to my mom. 9 times out of 10, there are going to be some trauma there. And it does not mean that person is not lovable or that person does not deserve a chance. All I'm saying is that be open to understanding where that person is coming from, because people don't generally see things from your perspective. They see things through their trauma. They see things based on their own experiences. And usually that comes with what we consider to be baggage. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's baggage. I just say that we're people and we're imperfect people. And it kind of gives you an insight of what to expect, so you can make a decision on what you're willing to deal with. Make sense? All right. Another thing I think is great to talk about is your future vision. Where are you guys going? Where do you see yourself? What is your expectation or your intention when surrounding family? You get to hear up front if this person have a plan. Do they already have a plan? And does that plan include a woman, a wife? I've seen situations where people that they both wanted, they want family, they want marriage, the wife, the husband, all of that, but one is okay with, they wanted the traditional household where the man goes to work, takes care of everything, and the woman stays home with the kids and clean up. But if that was not discussed at first, guess what? If that's not what the woman wants, she wants to go out, she wants to work, she wants to do that, let's get a babysitter, she don't feel like nothing is wrong with that, she may be willing to cook and take care of the home, but I want you to meet me halfway. Then there's a disconnect, because now there's an issue. Oh, she doesn't do this, you don't see her the way that you're supposed to see her, or she doesn't see him the way that she expected, surrounding her expectation of what a husband should look like. So there again, we have a disconnect. So I think those are things to start to talk about up front. Okay. To lighten the mood a little bit, where it's not as deep, where we could talk about what is something that you're passionate about. I think it's a great thing to hear what people is passionate about, because then it also allows you to see if you guys are aligned. What are some things that you guys may have in common, and are you just night and day? Right? This is not a deal breaker. I'm not saying, I'm not talking about these things to be the decision maker, but at least you are in the know of what to expect, if that makes sense. Right? Another thing that you could ask, just to get a conversation going, is what would you have, how would you prefer to spend your weekend or your free time, or how are you with family? Like, are you a family oriented person? Things like that. We want to talk about, are you a spontaneous person, or do you prefer to plan? And I guess, guys, I'm not, some of these questions, I had to do some research, so ding, ding. Because I'm going to tell you why. I am not really big on small talk. This is, when it comes to dating, this is one of the challenges that I have, because I am just not big on, how's the weather, and how's this, and how's that. And that could just be, and some of the question is not really considered small talk, but what happened is, if I talk about those things, I have to let you in. And I think that's where I struggle with. So if you're somebody like me, understand that I also realize that you cannot expect to want to meet and know somebody and you don't want to give any room for that person to know you. It is scary, but it's in everything in life, you have to take a chance, because you don't know. You have to take a step forward. So I know that, but just to be very transparent, I know that's a challenge for some of the people like me, talking for the people in the back, that may experience that. It doesn't come as easy, because you don't necessarily want to let somebody in that you're not sure is going to be there long term. But you have to, because you never know until you give them a try. Make sense? Oh, another thing that I found that would be helpful, it kind of helps you to see yourself as well, is, what are your expectations, or what are you looking for in a woman or a partner? Let's say a partner, because it could be man or woman. What are you looking for in a partner? And then that's when, because what if you get a person that says, he has to be tall, he has to have muscles, has to have this amount of money, and then, but you're the type of person like, no, those are all shallow and materialistic things. You'll know upfront what you're dealing with. You see what I'm saying? Question. Anyway. No, but seriously, I'm saying that those are questions, I think, great conversation starters, also to lighten the mood and allow people to show you, hopefully show you, be true and show you who they are up front. And then that will allow you to truly connect or not connect with this person. Okay, so I wanted to share that. Now, I do want to say, especially for a person of faith, the one thing I know is that sometimes you have to be careful when you are, well, not sometimes, you have to be careful. And the reason why I say that is sometimes the enemy will send you, he knows what you're looking for, especially physically, and what the things that you want to hear a person say. The enemy can orchestrate a whole plan with a counterfeit of a person to make you feel as though this is the perfect man, and God sent him to me, or this is the perfect woman, and yes, God, I feel it. Why? And we put on these blinders because we're looking for these specific things that on our checklist. Be sure to make sure that you're praying. If you meet a person that you have some kind of feelings for, or you feel like you're some kind of attraction for, make sure that you go to God in prayer about that person first. Take it slow. Do not try to rush into anything. And if it feels too good to be true, maybe it is not true. And I say this to say that Nobody is perfect. We're all imperfect people. So even if you're looking for this list of things to be checked off, no one person, the perfect person for you, is not going to match all of that, because God knows exactly who you need, and is not, sometimes that list was made from your flesh. So God is going to send you what you need. He may have 3 out of the 10 things. He may have 5. Do not be so quick to write them off. Get to know people, and you will always know if that person is not for you. And time will always show you who a person is. Time and circumstances will always reveal a person's true intentions. So take your time, pray about it, bring them to God, and wait for an answer. Wait for him to respond. He always does. Make sense? Okay, guys, I am going to cut it really short. I told you this video is going to be light. I don't remember if I said it before, that this is the final video in this singleness series, because we got some bigger and better topics that I want to dive into. And so with that said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. Let me hear what your thoughts are, what you'd like to hear me talk about. And until next time, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. Bye for now.